Hey Pheasant Lane fam, I hope you're doing well. My name is Robert and this is Pheasant Lane Farm. Behind me you can see two new chicken tractors that Amber and I have built over the course of the last 2 weeks or so. These are currently housing our first batch of meat chickens. Actually my first batch. Completely new to this. My wife's had meat chickens and chickens when she was younger, so this is all new to me. Before I forget, we went with the Super Roaster variety from Eagle's Nest Hatchery near Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Great people to deal with. My brother and I drove down and picked them up about 3 weeks ago. I think it was only an hour and a half or so from us, so not that bad. We figured we'd do the experience and check the place out when we went down to pick them up. So let's talk chicken tractors. What is a chicken tractor? Well, I don't have the real definition for you. I'm not even sure why they're called tractors to begin with. But in my personal opinion, a chicken tractor for meat birds is basically a mobile, temporary housing facility for meat chickens. And that portable or movable part is a very big deal. These guys grow like crazy. From the time they hatch to the time they go to slaughter or butcher is roughly 7 to 8 weeks on average. So you can imagine how fast these guys grow. What do you need to grow? Chicken feed and a whole lot of it, which turns into a whole lot of chicken poop. I can't imagine having these guys in a stationary facility. The amount of crap that would pile up would just be unreal. There's a lot of benefits to being able to move these chicken tractors. Number one, it's just the chicken health. Every day or multiple times a day, whatever works best for you. They're on brand new fresh grass. They will eat the grass. They'll pick out the bugs. We live pretty much in a woods, so I'm sure that they're helping keep down on the tick population around here. Another big benefit is as you're moving them every day, they're fertilizing the pastures that they're on. So it's kind of that rotational grazing thing. If I can put back into the ground more than I would on a regular basis, then that's okay with me. So when you look up chicken tractors, there seems to be two major designs. One being this box style, and the other being what they call a hoop style. I'll put a picture in up here. A hoop style is basically a frame of some sort. I've seen people make them out of PVC, galvanized tubing, 2x4s, 2x6s, whatever it may be. And you take the 16-foot cattle panels from Tractor Supply. They're like 50 inches tall, those hard galvanized wire. They got some rigidity to them. And you hook them to that frame so they create basically an arch or a high hoop. So they both have their pros and cons. Originally, I was going to build the hoop style. Basically, you just stretch those cattle panels over, cover it in poultry netting, and then put a tarp over it. Simple, easy, you're done. Frame in a simple wooden door, you're good to go. Here's my thing. These birds spend about 2 weeks of their 7 weeks in chicken brooders. Sometimes people keep them for up to 3 weeks in a brooder. So 5 weeks of the year, these chicken tractors are getting used. What can I do with them the rest of the year to help out around the farm? So I was laying in bed one night watching TV and I got thinking, well, last fall a good friend of mine called and said, hey, I have some chickens that I can no longer keep. Do you think Amber's interested? So we said, yeah, we'll take them. The problem being, anytime you bring outside animals from someone else's property or farm onto your farm, you should quarantine them for at least a short time. Make sure they're okay, make sure they're not bringing in any diseases to your animals. So after I said yes, that we'll take those chickens, I realized we don't have anywhere to put these guys, and we didn't want to put them into kind of our general population hen house over here. So I came up with kind of a temporary place to put them. And then the more I thought about that, I said, you know what? A lot of people build these super lightweight, so they're efficient, they're easy to move. But if I'm only going to use them, say I do 2 batches of birds a year, that's 10 weeks a year these are getting used. Why can't I build these, overbuild them, over-engineer them, and why can't I use them for other animals? So they would be perfect if we took in, if we don't have meat chickens and we take in some birds from somebody else, this would be a perfect place to give them a quarantine area. Also, sometimes you have a chicken, if it has bumblefoot, or you have a few of them and you try and separate them from the other ones or else they get picked on. Why couldn't this be a chicken hospital? And then what really clicked for me, why I chose this design over the super lightweight hoop style, is the fact that earlier this spring I got a call and said, hey, I know somebody's selling some Kune feeder pigs. Are you interested? And they're, I don't know, they're a couple months old. So like 20 pounds each or less. I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So I went and picked them up, and when I pulled in the driveway with 3 of them, I thought, where the hell am I going to put these guys? So I had to hurry up, kind of take some cattle panels, make a temporary shelter for them out of a stall I wasn't using in one of our loafing sheds. And it worked, but it wasn't ideal. So my brain working the way it does, if I'm going to spend the time and the money to build something, I want it to have multiple jobs. So I overbuilt these to the point where if I had to put some piglets in them, it would be perfectly fine. If I have a sick piglet, I can put them in here, kind of a hospital area, keep them separate. So these are not your ultra lightweight chicken tractors that a child can move around. I can pull these around just fine. I step in the rope, put it on my hips and just walk backwards. Amber or Kiddo would probably have a hard time moving these. They do not have wheels on them. We did go buy a set of wheels. I'm going to add to them just because where I want to put them out there, the yard's not very flat to move them out there. So that might make it a little easier, or I can just hook them to the tractor, chicken tractor on a tractor. There you go. So let's talk about how I built these. Like I said, I over-engineered these. I wanted these to have some weight. I wanted these guys to have some heft to them. And another big factor why I chose the cube style, I think Joe Salatin uses this style. They're pretty popular on his book and his YouTube page, is I had the materials laying around for most of these. Now I had the side corrugated metal roofing left over from when I added on to Amber's run last year. We added this second slope on. Also, you can't see it, we built a new livestock barn, 30 by 80 last fall. I had a ton of screws left. I had a bunch of 2x4s and boards left. I had staples. And a family member last fall gave us like a whole bunk of 2x4s. So I thought it's actually cheaper in the long run for me to build these. Also, these do each have a section of cattle panel on them as the front hatch. I'll put in a bunch of different views and angles here shortly. Those are $38 if you go buy them at Tractor Supply right now. I just checked the price at my local Tractor Supply. I just bought 20 of them or 21 of them for $10 a piece, brand new. A guy bought them and never used them and wanted them out of his barn. So I really don't have much money in these. At the end of the video, I'll tell you kind of a rough material list and tell you if you didn't have any of the materials, what they would cost you to build. So real quick, let's get into how I built these things. I have a bunch of footage I'll add up here, and all the other chickens are coming to check me out right now. So the front one is made almost entirely of treated 2x4 material. That's what I had. The second one is good enough. The bottom, anything that's touching the ground, is 2x4 treated, and then the other stuff along the top is non-treated. So these are 8 feet wide, 12 feet long, 24 inches tall. These meat birds really don't jump, they don't roost. There's no reason to waste material and money to build them any taller than you have to be. So I just took 4 2x4s. 2 of them were 8, 2 of them were 12. I made a rectangle. I wanted some extra weight and heft, and which we'll get into later in the video, the reasons why. So I took some treated 4x4 material I had laying around. I had an 8-foot section. I cut it into 2-foot sections. So every corner on this is a treated 4x4. Screwed all those boards together and then did the same thing on top. I added another rectangle, 12-foot 2x4s. On the ends I have 8-foot 2x4s. That was it. Then I went back through at the middle. So this post right here is at the 6-foot mark. There's a 2x4 there, 24 inches, and on all 4 sides in the middle I put a 2x4 in there to structurally kind of beef that up a little bit. Also what I did is I took some extra 2x4s I had laying around. You probably wouldn't need to do this step, but I chose to do it. Is I cut some like 16 3/4, I believe, or 16.5 inch 2x4s, and I went back around and screwed those on. That way I have a flush surface here. The first 2x4 was mounted on the inside. The 16-inch one I sandwiched, and so there's a flush side. Gives me a nice flush area to staple my poultry netting to. On the top, this is basically the only metal I had to buy, were these 3-foot by 8-foot corrugated roofing or siding materials. I had all of the 24-inch stuff left over from the roof on that coop. So I tried to use as much as I had laying around, try not to be wasteful. So on the back, there is one 8-foot piece of this 24-inch material. It's actually 26-inch. I had to go and cut about 1.5 inches off. The second sheet that I had, which was 8 feet long also, I cut in half. So the sides are actually 4-foot sections. So I have 6 feet of roofing on the top. On the back, it's 8 foot wide, and on the sides, there's 4-foot sections. So wherever that side metal had to go, I would just go back through and I'd put another 2x4 on the inside, and then another kind of scab board of the 16 or 16 and a half, 3/4 inches, whatever it was, to give me a flat surface to hook my sheet metal to. And I also did that on the corners. On the front, I just took 2x4, put it out, screwed it there, so it gives me, I'm flat on the front and on the side. Just a nice area when you wrap and staple your poultry netting to. So on the top, right here where those 2 pieces of 36-inch roofing material meet, I have a 2x4 laying on its side. That gives me my area to screw the overlap down to. Make sure you put your corrugated roof metal on the right way. There's one side of the metal is going to have a siphon edge. It's bigger. The bigger side goes over the smaller side. So just make sure you orient those the proper way. Up here, there's a 2x4 that I ran across, actually this way. Yep, right there to right there. There's a 2x4 in there. What I did there is, before I screwed the sheet metal down to it, I went down through there and I stapled my poultry netting. Didn't need a lot of staples because the roof, I put extra screws in there. That's sandwiching that metal, or that mesh, between the metal and the 2x4. This last 2x4 that you see right there, the only reason that's there is that's the hinge point for the hatch. The hatch is a 16-foot cattle panel that I cut down to size, so it's a little more than 8 feet wide. I just went to the nearest square. I wrapped that in poultry netting using zip ties, and I used fencing staples to secure it to that 2x4 right there. And that's also where I use the securement point for the other half of that netting area right there. Pretty simple to build. Having all the materials on hand was the main thing. I thought I had enough to build 2 of these. I knew I had to go buy 4 sheets of the roofing metal. I ran out on a few things, had to run to the store. But all the screws I had to go buy staples, I had to buy the poultry netting, and I had to buy the 2 sections of 8 foot by 3 foot metal for each one. So these things are heavy, you can imagine. That's why I didn't worry about putting some extra 2x4 reinforcements in there. There's also a 2x4 that runs from the back of the metal to the front. That's another reason I wanted to overbuild these. We have 2 Nigerian dwarf goats, and we have a boar goat, a female boar goat named Buttercup. Buttercup jumps on anything that she can't see through. I don't have any problem letting them out. I know they're not going to jump up on here, because if they see through it, they won't jump up on it. I can guarantee I let them out, they're going to jump on here. I did not want a 100-pound boar goat falling through and crashing all my wife's meat birds, or I would be in trouble. Not Buttercup, but me. So I had no problem. I can go out there and stand on that right now. It's not going to buckle. And like I said, I overbuilt these. Another reason I overbuilt these the way I did. Say for some reason we're not using them. Someone wants to borrow them. I can load this on my 32-foot gooseneck flatbed. I can run a 4x4 across the front, a 4x4 across the back. I can stack 2-3 of these high. If I had 9 of these, I could move them to different farms. Not that I'd have to, but if my dad wants to get some meat chickens, I'm not using them. It's easier just to run them over and drop them off. So I'd hang a few feet over on my 4 feet over on my gooseneck trailer, but I don't think I'd have any problem strapping down 9 of these on a 32-foot gooseneck trailer. So 3 high, 3 rows of 3 high, 3 columns, 3 rows, you know. Not making any sense today. It's hot, I'm sweating. Fat boys don't do well in the hot, sunny heat. I will let you know that firsthand. So that's pretty much it. I'll get you some other angles of these. For feeders, before I forget, we like the galvanized feeders. They last forever as long as you keep them clean. These birds are on feed 12 hours a day. We take it away at 8 o'clock at night, and they get it back at 8 o'clock in the morning, or they will literally just eat themselves to death. Also, the big galvanized waters, fill those about once a day. Sometimes I'll go out midday, dump it, and give them fresh cold water. But they are happy. Right now there's approximately, I think, 45 birds, maybe 40 to 45 birds in each tractor. We started with 100 chicks, and then sometimes egg sacs just don't develop right, or they don't start eating and drinking soon enough. So you're always going to lose a few birds. I talked to my buddy today. Every time he gets 30, it's almost like clockwork. He has 5 die. So just understand that's kind of the loss rate. I've read as high as 20% loss rate, death rate. 10 is acceptable. So I will let you know in a later video how many we started with and how many we ended with. I apologize for the wind. Like I said, it's a little warm today and I can't control the wind. But we have a bunch of happy birds in there. And another thing to consider is within the last week, the temperature dropped drastically down to, I believe, 44 degrees. They weren't calling for it. It just kind of happened. It got a warning, hey, it's supposed to get cold tonight. With these being galvanized roof and sides, I was able just to put 1 heat lamp in there and 40 birds were happy. I didn't have to worry about them freezing at night. There's a few things I still have to do. I'm going to add wheels just so when we're dragging it over the really uneven parts of the yard. Right now we just have some 2-foot or 20-inch, whatever they are, 20-inch by 20-inch paver stones holding the hatch down. I got to go get some more eye bolts to screw that down. I'm just going to use bungee straps. So 4 bungee straps to hold the front hatch down. It takes a few times before you start moving it, before the birds realize, okay, when you're moving this, I have to move, don't run me over. Don't ask me how I know that. I learned from experience, felt horrible, but it was a learning experience. So real quick, let me go over the price list of this. I like to keep this video around 20 minutes. If you didn't have any of these materials, which like I said, I had to buy the poultry netting, the staples, and the top metal on each one of them, so 4 sheets of metal. I got it broke down to what one of these would cost you right now. I watched a video where someone said you should be able to build one of these for $200. Well, I'm sure that was before COVID and the crazy spikes in lumber and metal. So I figured in these, is the way I build them, spider. I have 10 2x4x8s untreated. It's gonna run you $59.80. I have 2 2x4x8s that are treated, which are on the bottom, the front and the back. It's gonna run you $13.56. 2 2x4x12s treated, they're $10.58 each, so $21.16. Right now around me I can buy treated cheaper than non-treated, which blows my mind. 2x4x12s that untreated, $25.84. 2x8 pieces of the 3-foot by 8-foot metal, or no, excuse me, 2 pieces of the side metal. So those are 8-foot sections, they're 26 inches high, I guess you could say. Those are $21.98 for a total of $43.96. The roof metal is 3x8, $34.48 a sheet right now. That's $68.96. 1 treated 4x4 is going to run you $10.48. I figured with the, I didn't have to go buy all the screws, netting, staples, zip ties, all that stuff. I'm just a quick estimate, which is probably a little high. I figured $50 for the poultry netting, the staples, screws, all that stuff. I did build these with premium GRK structural screws, 2 different sizes. I had them on hand. I don't build anything anymore unless I use GRK screws. They're a little expensive, but man, they are awesome. The cattle panel, I just looked up. I just wrote down $35. They're running anywhere between $35 and $38 in my local store. So without tax, if you would go build one of these right now, you're at $328.76. This is May 31st, 2022. Geez, tomorrow's June already. But you figure, you know, you're $350, which is crazy. So I'm lucky I had most of the stuff laying around, and I might have $100 in each one of them. So $200 for this pair is what I have in these in my time. So that's pretty much it. We'll go up, we'll show you some happy chickens. I haven't moved these yet today. I like to do it in the evening when Amber's home to help me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informational. I was originally going to do this video as a, you know, step-by-step building it, but this video would be an hour and a half long. So if you guys have any questions, email me, pheasantlanefarm@gmail.com. I'll answer all your questions. And you could build this cheaper, lighter weight. I want something that if I have to, I can put some piglets in it and they're not going to destroy it. Or the big dumb goat buttercup. So, all right, everybody, take care. God bless. As always, make smart decisions. I hope everyone had a fantastic Memorial Day in remembrance of our friends and family and loved ones who sacrificed the ultimate price for what we have today. Take care, everybody. I'll catch you on the next one. Happy chickens.